St. Louis sports fans, welcome back to another episode of St. Louis PreGame Show, brought to you by STL Sports Channel. Tonight we have an intense game for the St. Louis Blues against the Edmonton Oilers, where there are probable playoff implications for the St. Louis Blues. So let's dive right in. James, how's it going tonight, man? Obviously, we have the St. Louis Blues going up against the Edmonton Oilers tonight, and it's potentially going to be a big game for St. Louis. I mean, if they get a regulation win tonight against Edmonton, and the Calgary Flames get a regulation loss, then the Blues could potentially get into a playoff spot. How obviously just said a little bit of how big this game is, but how big do you think this game would be for the St. Louis Blues if they were able to get that spot?
I think this is a huge game for them on multiple reasons, only because of the fact that they can't clinch a playoff spot tonight with a little help from Calgary sucking it up tonight. That'll be nice. But the biggest thing is, after losing the 12-game winning streak to Winnipeg, a tight game as it was, but nonetheless they lost. This is their way of making a comeback. They have to show that they still have dominance in this league, even though they just lost their last game. It's best to get this game started fast and play hard and get a win, especially on a team like Edmonton that is really they're injury depleted big time.
Yep. Yeah, I was gonna say whenever I looked up stats about prior to this game, it showed that uh, McDavid was out, but here recently, a little bit ago, I saw that McDavid is actually going to be back in for this
Yep.
game. But aside from that, they're going to be out of Draisaitl, Ekholm, Evander Kane still, Stuart Skinner, and then I mean the list kind of goes on from there still. But just seeing how this team in Edmonton is a little bit depleted from injuries, that could give St. Louis a slight bit of an edge against this team tonight.
I definitely like to think so. And also given a couple days rest to recover from Winnipeg to get over to Edmonton, get a little, shake off those issues that they had in the last few games. Even though they were
Yep.
winning a lot of those games, they had a lot of cracks in their armor. So now it's time to shake that off and come out strong and hard against the Oilers.
Of course. Obviously, with coming off that loss to Winnipeg and ending the 12-game winning streak for the St. Louis Blues, what are some of the things that they have to do coming out of that? And obviously, staying focused and looking on to this next game, but that obviously that's got to be you got to have a little bit of kind of obviously they feel bad a little bit for losing, but you got to stay focused and everything and going into this game against Edmonton.
One of the things that hurt them against Winnipeg was the mistakes they made. It wasn't like they played a terrible game. It was a good game against arguably the best team in the league, but
Yep.
they had just enough costly mistakes. The Matthew Joseph one that got the Jets the game-winning goal is definitely one that comes into play. It's something that they have to watch that puck turnover at the other ends. They can't take the chances like they were trying to. You have to
Mm-hmm.
be, I don't want to say be conservative, but it's time to lock it down. It's not about freewheeling and going. You have to get the playoff mentality set in terms of a defensive mindset. And also the number one factor tonight is starting goalie Jordan Binnington. This is the guy that is arguably the best playoff goalie in the Western Conference. I know a lot of people will throw that out there, but he is. He's a Stanley Cup winner. He is a proven winner on multiple levels, including the Four Nations tournament. So not only do the Blues have to come out as a team and play hard against them, they have to support Bennington so he can get you those great saves and be that winning goaltender that he's set up to be.
Yep. Yeah, and I feel like especially with some of these guys and how they've been playing recently, you got Robert Thomas who's on a 9-game point streak with 4 goals and 16 assists. He's been a big contributing factor for this team. You got Pavel Buchnevich, who's gotten consecutive goals in the last few games, and even Nathan Walker, who's going, if he gets three more hits in tonight's game, he
Yeah.
could be going to set a franchise record and for hits in a single season for the Blues at 277. Now, that's something that I don't know if it's been done recently by Blues, but seeing how much character and how much drive he has and for this team, and seeing him getting something like that, that's huge for the kid and this team.
Right, absolutely. That's a guy that was a big question mark at the beginning of the year to even be on this team, and now he's reestablished himself to be a formidable fourth line winger for this team, and an absolute pest to the other teams in the NHL. When he's out there, those guys hate him. He's that old school, instigator that you used to fall in love with back in the '90s and early 2000s, and when you see guys like that out there playing the way they do, that reckless style of going after everybody, drawing penalties, that's important. And the fact that he's just a few checks away from setting a franchise record, kudos to him. I'm really happy to see that for a guy like him.
Of course. And then, as we all may know, uh, with standings watch for tonight, obviously we're watching against for the Flames game against the Anaheim Ducks. They're going at 9 p.m. Central Time, just like the Blues are. And then, obviously, can't forget about the Minnesota Wild, who are playing against the San Jose Sharks tonight. They're currently sitting, I think, in first intermission at winning 2-1 currently. So, and that's a game that we kind of got to watch with, especially with them
Hmm.
being a game in hand on us. And if they end up winning that game and us losing that game, that could put us right back in the position we were earlier last week, where we were tied with them in points for the wild card position. So it's a very crucial game for the Blues coming into Edmonton tonight, and I feel like if they want to stay where they are currently at, they have to get a win.
Right. That's the key element here is reestablish a winning streak. Get back on that horse. Start winning again to get ready for the last four games of this season. Is it fours or do we have four or three? I'm sorry.
Three.
Three. So last three games of the season. Let's get some wins out of this. Let's lock in this playoff spot. Let's be ready for, that first round of the playoffs. They could do this. They have that ability. They are the team that's still here, minus Dylan Holloway, which is a big loss, but nonetheless, they step up. It's the pack mentality style of playing for this team. They do that and they can make this happen.
Of course. And then I guess with that, with all the different players that we've kind of talked about a little bit earlier, who do you think? I know it says player of the game, but who do you think is the one of the key players to watch for the St. Louis Blues tonight as we take on Edmonton Oilers?
You know, my personal opinion is I think the player of the game is going to be Braden Shen. He's getting a little bit of a change in the lineup. He does not have Jordan Cairo to be on his side or Dylan Holloway. Instead, he's getting, I believe it was Zach Bolduc is going to be on one side with him. So it's going to be up to the captain to really show up and be that second line center that he has been this season, just to basically a reincarnation of himself. It's going to be a challenge because he doesn't have those top wingers on his sides this time as Kyrie moves to the first line. So it's going to be up to him and Bolduc and Neighbors to really be set a tone for that second line. And it's up to the captain to lead the way.
Okay. Yeah, I was going to go more along the lines of Pavel Buchnevich. He's been
You go
on
for it. Go
points.
ahead. I just want to go.
I,
I just want to go. I just want to pick it.
I
You know.
I was
Go ahead.
I was going for your side and my side, but yeah, I think a key player for tonight could probably be Pavel Buchnevich. He's been
Yeah.
on a hot streak the last few
Hmm.
games, and I feel like with how he's been playing with his line mates and everything, I feel like he could really become a big contributor
Right.
coming into this game.
Yeah. And they've had,
Um,
and him and Kyrie and Thomas have had a lot of success in the past. So it's going to be nice to see these guys back together again.
for sure. Then getting kind of into the next thing for tonight, what would you say are some of the big keys to the game in order for the Blues to come out with a victory?
I think the forwards have to attack Picard. I don't mean Jean-Luc Picard. I mean Edmonton goalies Picard. Their backup goaltender who has been okay for this team, but he's not Stuart Skinner. He's not their starter. He's not a Joel Hofer type where he's a dominant 1A or 1B, I mean. He is a guy that they have to go after hard. And also they have to really the other key to the game, McDavid's come back in the lineup. McDavid's going to have a lot to prove because he's been out for a while. They have to hold him back as much as humanly possible. I know that he is one of the best players in the league, but they need to get some goose eggs from this guy tonight.
Definitely. Yeah, I was gonna say more or less kind of the same as what you said. If they can shut down McDavid, especially with him being out for the last several games, if they're able to do that against one of their arguably their best player on the squad,
Hmm.
they would be able to do really well. Keep focused after the loss to Winnipeg, and obviously, if they're able to, because the last few games they've been really I don't know if undisciplined is the right word for it, but they've been giving away a lot of
Hmm.
defensive zone giveaways. So I feel like if they're able to kind of nip that a little bit and stay a little bit more disciplined in their own defensive zone and not give up the puck nearly as much, I feel like they're going to have a little bit better of a chance than what they have against like Winnipeg, Colorado, and some of the other teams that they've played against, where those giveaway numbers or the takeaway numbers against them have been a little bit on the higher side.
Agreed.
But with that, kind of getting into the lineup for tonight's game, there's a little bit of some changes being made to the lineup, especially after the last couple games and seeing a little bit of struggles. On that first line, we're going to see Pavel Buchnevich, Robert Thomas, and Jordan Kyrou. On the second line, we're going to see Jake Neighbors, Braden Shen, and Jimmy Snuggerud. On the third line, I think it's coming down to a little bit of a game time decision, but they said that it could be either Dalibor Dvorsky or Matthew Joseph on the left, uh, Oscar Sundquist in the middle, and then Zachary Bolduc on the right. Third or fourth line will be Alexei Toropchenko, Radek Faksa, and Nathan Walker. For the defense, first line, it would be Cam Fowler and Nick Leddy. Third line is Broberg and Falk, and the third line is Suter and Tucker. And then, obviously, as we said before, the starting goaltender is going to be Jordan Bennington. Now, how big is it for the kids to being able? Obviously, Snuggerud has been in the lineup for the last several games. How big is that for Dalibor Dvorsky if he is able to crack the lineup again and being able to get into action against the Edmonton Oilers tonight?
I think Dvorsky, it's a game that I want to see him come out swinging. I want to see him come out playing hard. I don't think it's some make or break where like the kid's confidence is ruined if he doesn't play or if he doesn't have a great outing. But I really want to see him go out there and prove himself. I think I like to see that he's going to have a little bit of a chip on his shoulder, to see Snugger getting some success out there, playing the last few games, and now Dvorsky may get his chance tonight in the lineup, and I hope he does. I really hope they just give Joseph a little bit of a break, a little rest. Siesta will do him some good from the last game. It wasn't his best outing with the Blues, so I want to see Dvorsky out there and play the style that he's born to play. And he's got good complementary players on his line uh, with Sonny and Bolduc. That's going to be a good combination for him.
Of course, um, yeah, I feel like, and especially that too. I feel like giving the chance to Dvorsky a little bit. That gives him and Jimmy Snuggerud a little bit of that competitive spirit or the
Right.
competitive drive to see like one coming back into the lineup and for the other one staying in the lineup more than you. I feel like for both of them, it's like a little bit of a competitive drive to be able to
Hmm.
get back in the lineup, and you'll probably see them maybe trying to create chances or get something on the board fast for this team, and hopefully something of the nature will happen for one of these guys tonight. I know Snuggerud's had a couple of points since he's join the Blues, but I don't believe Dvorsky had any points in the first game whenever he
No.
played against Nashville. So that'd be something to watch for tonight. Against Edmonton Oilers. For anybody who's going to be listening, you'd be able to listen on 101 ESPN on FM style station, and then to watch the game, I believe I saw it was going to be on TNT because I don't believe it was going to be on FanDuel tonight. So
Nope.
if you're wanting to tune into the game, be sure to check it out on TNT or 101 ESPN. Anything before we close out for the evening and we get to this Blues game, James?
You know what? I look at it this way: 12-game win streak is over. Now it's time to shake that off and be like, you know what? Let's go. Let's do this. Let's see what started this win streak. Let's play that style of game again.
For sure. But yeah, I was more or less going to say kind of the same thing, but we will see you guys after the Blues game for a post-game show, possibly, and then also be sure to tune in for all of our shows on through the week for all the other sports for St. Louis, and then also for our Blues Nut show every Sunday evening. So until tonight, later tonight, or next time, we will see you guys in the next one. See ya.
Go Blues.